Welcome to Lexington, Kentucky. The second largest city in Kentucky, Lexington is home to the University of Kentucky and has a rich history of bourbon, bluegrass, and horse racing. Known as the horse capital of the world, Lexington is also home to the Keeneland Association, an equine business comprised of the Keeneland Racecourse and Keeneland Sales, which is a horse-based auction business. Keeneland Racecourse is a National Historic Landmark that houses all the Keeneland Association activities, which include sales. They host 4 auctions a year, as well as online sales, racing. The spring meet is held in the spring, and the fall meet is held in the fall, including the Breeders' Cup, as well as events and hospitality such as weddings, corporate events, and race meet hospitality. All of Keeneland's business activities take place on the grounds located a short distance from downtown Lexington. Consisting of over 1,000 acres, the Keeneland grounds consist of the race course, a grandstand, show ring, sales pavilion, stables, and our area of focus today, the Keeneland Library. The Keeneland Library was established just 3 years after Keeneland was founded in 1936. Keeneland Association operates under the mission of taking a leadership role in the industry of horse racing and improving safety, promoting integrity, and strengthening the sport of horse racing. Keeneland Association also has a commitment to reinvesting not only into the industry of the thoroughbred racing, but also into the community through philanthropy. According to library director Becky Ryder, the founders of the business had a very conscientious business plan with a goal to serve the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the nation as the world's model racetrack where racing would be showcased as racing was meant to be by preserving the tradition of breeding. Ryder said that even though a library wasn't included in that original business plan, creating one shortly after its inception was all in keeping with the mission of the preservation of the history of the sport. Keeneland Library is a public research reference library, but the collection is non-circulating. Kelly Kaufman, Research Services Librarian at Keeneland Library, gave me a brief overview of the main patron base. Here's Kelly with more about that.
I would say are authors and then industry journalists who do articles. Also some industry historians that are both authors as well. Then students like yourself and just the regular racing fans and, some non-racing fans as well that might be interested in maybe their great uncle was a jockey back in the early 1900s and they're doing genealogy.
Furthermore, a common partner for the Keeneland Library is the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame, which is located in New York. Ryder says that while the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame does have a library, it is very small and it supports their museum mainly. Kaufman stresses that Keeneland Library is the library for the industry, and as such, they support all the other industry cultural institutions however they can. She said that their relationship with the museum is symbiotic and a good one. She also noted that they are currently forging a similar relationship with the National Horse Racing Museum in Newmarket, England. So the Keeneland Library really has a global patron base. The Keeneland Association is a for-profit business structured with a non-profit mission. Keeneland is focused on community outreach and education of the industry. This makes the library an integral part of the organization. When asked where the library fits into the organizational structure, Becky Ryder told me that the whole company recently went through a restructuring. The library used to fall under the Marketing and Communications Division. She said this was a good fit because the library uses the marketing and communications services for public relations and for marketing outreach when the library has exhibits or lecture series. However, under the restructuring, the library was moved to the Patron Experience Division. Both Director Becky Ryder and Research Services librarian Kelly Kaufman agree. This is a better fit for the library. Patron experience includes ticket sales, craft services, and all other front-facing staff to Keeneland patrons. Ryder said the reason she believes this is such a good fit is that this department is so user-focused, and the library is as well. Because the Patron Experience Division already knows the ropes of putting on events, this makes doing so for the library that much easier. The library director's immediate supervisor is the Senior Director of Operations and Communications. The next director on the same level in the organizational chart is the Director of Patron Experience. Above the Senior Director of Operations and Communications is the Chief of Staff. Ryder shared the library's most recent 3-year strategic plan, which is about to be updated. This plan gives a detailed description of how the library supports the mission of the parent organization by allowing access to a diverse collection of information resources to serve the thoroughbred industry as a whole. This plan includes strategic goals in areas such as personnel, collections management, outreach and community engagement, and facility and capital improvements, as well as many specific objectives under each of those categories. There are currently 4 employees at the Keeneland Library: Becky Ryder, the director, Kelly Kaufman, reference services and research librarian, a part-time library associate who works 3 days a week, and a library science intern, usually from the University of Kentucky, which is where Kelly Kaufman started her career with the library. Ryder states that the library operates best when there are 3 full-time employees. The approximate operating budget of the library, not including salaries and benefits, is $150,000. Much of this goes towards their digital subscriptions, such as Cat Express, Library World, Omeka, which hosts their digital exhibits, and Islandora, which hosts their burgeoning digital library. Moving on to the facilities, Ryder and Kaufman told me that the original home of the library was in the clubhouse, but was moved to its own facility in 2002. The architecture of the library is designed as a touchstone to the past. It has similar millwork and cabinetry as the original home of the library. Behind the desk is the staff area. This is where employee offices are located, as well as their physical journal collection and journal index, which is kept on card catalog, and a file for their clippings, which I'll talk more about later. Below the main floor is their storage area, including a pre-vault area which houses the rare book collection. Then you move into the vault. This is a large climate-controlled room with fire suppression and relative humidity control. This is where the library stores their most vulnerable collections, most notably the entire archive of the Daily Racing Form dating back to 1896 and several photo collections dating back to the 1800s. Once you leave the vault, there is a large room with more journal storage and a conservation lab where the staff does archiving work. The library's collection began in 1939 with an initial gift of 2,300 rare books from noted turf builder William Arnold Hanger. The library still houses some of Hanger's personal collection as well. Since then, the library has grown to a collection of over 30,000 books, over 1 million photos and photographic negatives dating back to the early 1800s, and thousands of journals. In 2000, the Daily Racing Form, a newspaper that publishes racing statistics for racing enthusiasts, donated the entire collection of physical DRF volumes dating back to 1896. In turn, the library teamed up with UK libraries to move the oldest and most vulnerable of these volumes to an online database. You can view this database at drf.uky.edu. There are a few notable photograph collections at the Keeneland Library. Charles Christian Cook, a noted photographer of horses, odors, jockeys, and racing in the early 1900s, has over 18,000 glass plate negatives at the Keeneland Library. And the photographic negative collection of Bernard Stanley Morgan, consisting of over 250,000 photographic negatives. Mr. Morgan developed his own cataloging system for this collection, which made it easy for the librarians to integrate it into their collection. As Kaufman receives requests for digitization of these photographs, they are rehomed into archival quality envelopes. Even so, Kaufman says that these negatives likely only have a shelf life of about 15 to 20 more years. The library uses the Library of Congress classification system, but they have to branch out so that the entire collection isn't under SF. For example, if there is a book about equine economics, the librarians may catalog it under the economics class, though a cataloger at an academic library might still catalog it under SF. The library houses many equine journals apart from the Daily Racing Form, such as Blood Horse, which publishes its own index, and Spirit of the Times, a scarcely held journal of which the library has almost the full run. Ryder notes that because their collections are so niche, many journals aren't aggregated into a larger database. It's Kaufman's job to catalog these into their physical card catalog. One of Ryder's first projects when she became director was to publish an online catalog, which you can search by going to the library's website. Another not insignificant portion of the collection is the clippings files, which was started in the 1960s with newspaper clippings. These are files that the librarians keep of news articles related